Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 8 of the Common Knowledge Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Clark, and joined with me again for a second week in a row is Sean Stokes.
Yep, Sean Lobbert, the Stokes. I'm here.
Sean Lobbert, the Stokes. Our regular host, Raphael, is still getting his life together down in Brazil and getting everything figured out, and he doesn't really have internet connection right now. So Sean has graciously agreed once again to help me out. And we've got a fun show set up for today. But before we dive into all of that, it's a quick shout out to our sponsor, puremtgo.com. Check them out to find deck lists, articles, basically all the resources you could need for Magic Online and anything that entails. So give them a quick look. Also, check out Lobbert's YouTube channel, Sean here. He does a lot of streaming and make videos on YouTube and stuff. So
yeah, I'll just play my brews. I'm in the middle of a league right now, so as soon as I finish that, I'll just edit it up and put that up there. I'm gonna, I post a link on the Reddit when I do. If you follow me on my channel, just if you type in Lobbert Popper, I should pop right up.
Yeah, so go onto the YouTube and type Lobbert Popper into the search, and then smash that like button and that subscribe button and give him your support. Also, just watch his videos because they're good videos. So.
Yeah, enough about that. I'm sure people want to hear about. I don't want to hear about my YouTube channel the whole time.
Really? I thought that's what we were going to talk about. Just your YouTube channel the whole time.
No. I like talking about the cards.
All right. Well, moving on then. Let's jump into our card of the week. This is one that seems to have been kind of, I don't know if a resurgence is the right word, but
yeah, it went away. It's making a comeback.
Yeah.
Resurgence.
It's putting some it's putting some results up that it hasn't been doing in a while. But that card is Pestilence. So, Lobbert, what is Pestilence?
Pestilence is a 4-mana enchantment. I don't have it pulled up. I'm going to do this from memory. It's a 4-mana enchantment that at the beginning of your end step, if there are no creatures on the battlefield, you sacrifice Pestilence. And you can pay as many black into it as you want, one at a time, to do 1 damage to each creature and each player. What's great about this card is it's a board wipe and Pauper, which we don't get. It is abusable, so it's a repeatable board wipe at instant speed, which most formats don't get that unless you're playing Terminus. But I've brewed with this card. The power level feels just super high for the format. You just have to get it to work. You run out of life, but it's a win con and a stall tactic at the same time. Do you have any thoughts on Pestilence?
No. Well, yeah, but I kind of like how you say it's one of the more powerful cards in this format, but that does not come without drawback. The tax on your life total is very relevant, and you can't just jam this into any deck that could cast it. You've got to really kind of build around it. What kind of roles does Pestilence fill in the decks that it goes into? Is it just a board wipe?
It's a win con and a board wipe. It's a mana sink. It's the big payoff card. Like, it's everything.
It's the
only problem with it is the decks it goes into usually have some lower powered level cards, and you can hate this card out fairly easily with enchant removal.
Okay, interesting. So this card does, like we've touched on, it's sort of a build around. You don't just throw it into your deck and expect it to be phenomenal. Like, you've got to kind of build around it and build your deck with Pestilence in mind.
Because it's symmetrical, yeah.
Yeah. So what kind of deck restrictions, or what sort of deck building restrictions does Pestilence put on you when you're building?
You want high toughness creatures, first off. and you have to have some source of life gain in your deck. I'm sure you can pull it off without it, but you do want to activate this a lot if you're running it. I think, like, you just activating it for 2 and just having like a 6 mana deal 2 damage to everything. You know, unless you're playing Evenkar's Justice and it's repeatable. Like, you have to have, like, I feel like, do you want to talk about the card? I want to talk about the cards that it has synergies with. Like, you have to play something like Guardian of the Guild Pact, which has protection from monocolor. So as long as this card is out, and it's really hard to remove, Pestilence will never go away. It's a powerful card, but it does have. I kind of love the card and I kind of hate it. It's so slow for the format that a lot of the times, you know, you can only play like 2 of this card. So you have to be running creatures as well as all of your kill spells that go along with this. You can play like Thorn of the Black Rose to help you get into it. And it has like 3 toughness, and like Kumbaj Witches. So it kind of feels like it needs to be mostly a mono black deck, because every mana you pay into it has to be black. And I don't know, black doesn't play nice with other colors, I feel like. It wants to be mono black most of the time. Right?
Yeah, I think so. I think, though, that the reason the black-white decks are playing white, despite that drawback, is the amount of synergy that it has between some of those other white cards, like Guardian of the Guild Pact.
Wall of Hope was another one.
Yeah, Wall of Hope.
Wall of Hope is it's like a 1 mana 0/3 that whenever it takes damage, you gain that much life. So there's like one of your sources of life gain that you're going to repeatedly. You can just do 2 damage to everything indefinitely. So like your elves matchup is brilliant, but there's some really bad ones. Like if they don't run creatures.
Yeah, if they don't run creatures, Pestilence just doesn't really do a whole lot, right? Because
it's a really bad fireball.
Right, it's a 4 mana fireball, so it's like, you know,
if they're keeping your creatures off the field, then it's whatever, how many black mana symbols you have minus like 4.
Yeah. So not ideal, but still not a dead card against, you know, like a control deck that's killing all of your creatures and not putting many of theirs into play themselves. You're going to get to the point in the game where you have a ton of mana anyway, and you have nothing to do. So this is just a huge mana sink, like you said. Not great, not where you want to be with this card, but at least it's not completely dead if you draw it.
Yeah, but as long as we're talking about the drawbacks, I feel like that leads straight into how we beat it. There's some tricks you can do where, like, if you're playing a mono blue deck, you can run out like your Augur of Bolas or something, where they're like, yeah, I feel pretty confident that my Pestilence can stay out, and it's kind of bait because you're shutting off all of their like spell stutter sprites and stuff at the same time because their Augur is staying out. So you can wait for them to try to activate it a few times, or they're going into an end step, and you bounce your own creature. And since it's like an Augur of Bolas or something, you get the card back, hopefully, if you hit on your 3 cards. So using removal on your own creatures, of course, enchantment removal is pretty easy. Just point and click. You just have to be packing it.
Yeah, and a lot of decks do have access to good enchantment removal, but for the ones that don't, like you said, it's all about sort of your timing and how you play your creatures. When they do make the initial Pestilence and they wipe your board, you know, just knowing that they have Pestilence in your deck means that you just can't overcommit to the board like you would in other matches. You've got to kind of be cognizant of that.
It's kind of a paradox, though, because another way you beat it is you go under it. You just go so fast, you get their life total so low. Say, if like, you know, your red deck wins, your Stompy it gets weird because they're like, okay, should I activate Pestilence to kill their board? They just pump their creature and end up killing me because you've already done them 15 damage or something like that. But then, you know, you can overcommit. They can figure out how to get a Pestilence and live for a turn. That's why we love Magic, because there's these like paradoxical, like, what do I go with? Do I think I can make it?
Yeah, and that's where a lot of these support creatures come into play too that are in these Pestilence decks. You can't just rely on turn 4, I'm going to play Pestilence and untap with it, because that's really slow. Like, this card costs 4 mana, but this is not a 4 mana board wipe.
Right.
This is a play it on turn 4, hope you untap with it, wipe on turn 5, and Pauper can be a fast format, like you said. And they can just put that tax on your life total. And so that's where these support creatures and stuff and other cards come into play that these decks have. You know, creatures that block very well, creatures that keep your life total very high, and get you to that Pestilence. So
yeah, they just never, like, creatures that never die to the Pestilence are super important.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is Pestilence. That is our card of the week. If you're going to be playing in any leagues or challenges, be cognizant of this card. It's real. It's there. It'll get you.
Play with it.
Or just play with it.
That's what I want to do.
Yeah, play with it too. Okay, well, we're going to move into our main topic, which is a sort of a set review. But not really. We're not going to go through every single common in the set. Sean and I have each picked our 5 favorites from the set that we think will see Pauper play, or that we think could have an impact on the format in some way. And so we're just going to go down this list. We've got them ordered from 5th to 1st. We'll start with our 5th pick, and we'll just work our way down. So, Sean, why don't you go ahead and start for us? What is your number 5?
So for my number 5, I have Gruesome Fate, which is 2 generic and a black, I believe. And it says is it target opponent or each opponent loses 1 life for each creature you control?
Each opponent.
Each opponent. I think this is kind of exciting because it's a way for Pauper decks that can somehow combo out with a lot of creatures to just go, and I kill you. You don't need an attack step. Like, you just do your thing, get a whole bunch of creatures, and then you can cast this card. I don't know if there's a whole lot of other stuff outside of like goblin specific, where it's like the number of goblins you control, it deals damage for that. So unless I'm wrong, I feel like this is a new effect for the format.
Yeah, I feel like it's a build around. You know, it's something that if it doesn't fit into a deck that already exists, it's something that people can start brewing around and trying to make powerful. I think effects like this are really strong. And we talked about it last week when we touched on Affinity. And one of the things that made that deck so powerful was the fling kill. Mm-hmm. Its ability to beat you down with 4/4s and 2/2s and go really wide. But then it also has this alternate win condition of make a huge ATOG, fling, kill you. I don't need a combat step. I don't need to try to get through your blockers. I don't need to worry about a removal spell. And cards like Gruesome Fate are kind of the same. They kill on a different angle and they attack from a different axis.
We've seen a resurgence of elves lately, I feel like. And they don't play anything that's just like, okay, I combo, and I kill you. They can produce black with Birchlow Rangers, but they don't have their payoff cards. Their payoff cards are just more enablers. Like, the payoff is Distant Melody. Okay, you play a whole bunch more elves, and then unless you have an untapped Timberwatch, like, that requires combat. So I don't think it will be played in elves, but maybe there's a deck that will eventually like the effect.
Yeah, I don't know either. Now that we have Lead the Stampede in the format, maybe some elf decks could shy away from blue and just play, lead the Stampede and Gruesome Fate, but I don't know. I don't think so either. But I think this is a powerful effect, and I'm sort of excited to see what happens with it.
If anything, yep.
Yeah, if anything. Cool. All right, so that is Sean's number 5, Gruesome Fate. My number 5 is Fanatical Firebrand. So this is a single red for a 1/1 with haste, and it has Sacrifice Fanatical Firebrand. It deals 1 damage to target creature or player. So this card, yeah, it's a Goblin Pirate because that's relevant.
Yeah,
for a Goblin Pirate Stompy Tribal deck.
You know, one day.
Yeah, when we return to Ixalan and get all the new pirates.
For goblins, it's pretty good, I think. Like, the haste is cool.
I think it's a very powerful red card. So the haste is great. Like, this guy's just going to get through a ton of damage, you know, before your opponent's able to feasibly block it. And then even when they do, it's not dead because we can just sack it and throw it at our opponent if we have to. But what makes this card even better is that we have now on this creature's body instant speed removal for, you know, a spell. It just makes like Spell Setter Sprite super awkward.
It fits in really well with the plan of play really early stuff, beat in as fast as you can before they get a lot of blockers, and then burn them for the rest. That's what Goblin decks like to do. If we ever get Goblin Grenade, like you just get a whole bunch of goblins, you throw off a couple nades, and then you have this guy, and he throws himself. So it just kind of adds one more to, like, you don't have to get him so low just by attacking. So I think this guy is pretty good.
Yeah, and what I like a lot about him too is that there's no other requirement for his activated ability other than just tapping him. So you don't have to pay a mana into it to do it. You just tap him, which means it gives you an access to a lot of different options in a single turn. You can keep your mana for the cards in your hand, and you still have this guy in your back pocket that you can activate whenever you need to.
Yeah, goblins used to play the 1/1 that it doesn't have haste. You don't have to tap it to sack it, but it does the damage to a creature or a player, just like this guy. So it's kind of like a different take on that guy by giving him haste. And I want to say I like the haste goblin more.
Yeah. Which are we talking? The haste goblin? Or are you talking about this guy?
This guy is the haste one. The other one is just a 1/1 that doesn't have to tap to stack.
Oh, yeah, see, I'm paying attention. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, should we move on to our number 4? Do you have anything else to say about either of these two cards?
No. Except that number 4 is, I also had Fanatic Firebrand. So.
Oh yeah, that's right. You do. Cool. Well, so Sean's number 4 is Fanatical Firebrand. My number 4 is Martyr of Dusk. So Martyr of Dusk is a generic and a white for a 2/1 vampire soldier. That's the important part.
Soldier is almost relevant.
Almost relevant, yeah. But this card is interesting because I like his text box. It says, when Martyr of Dusk dies, create a 1/1 white vampire creature token with lifelink. So this card is very reminiscent to a card that already exists in the format, Doom Traveler. But when Doom Traveler dies, you get a 1/1 flying spirit. This guy gives you a 1/1 with lifelink. While I don't think this card is better than Doom Traveler at all, I think that it has the same applications, and it probably fits just alongside it in a deck.
I think it's pretty weak, to be honest. I think Martyr of Dusk will never probably place in a challenge. I would put that card at 0 for the next year.
I can see that.
So are we ready to move on to number 3?
Yeah.
So I'll go over mine first. I have Grasping Scoundrel. It's 1 black for a 1/1 that gets +1/+0 when it attacks. So I am a fan of the Suicide Black deck. If anyone is familiar with that, it basically, my favorite version plays 12 land. They're all swamps. You play Dark Ritual, and you just go for as many 1-drops and 2-drops that are like bears or whatever. A lot of them deals damage to you on your upkeep, so that's why we call it Suicide Black. And like you play what's the card called? It If you control a swamp, you can pay 4 life. Snuff Out.
Oh yeah, Snuff Out.
Yeah, so I feel like it goes into that. We get another guy that's just a 1 mana 2 power creature. I'll probably end up slotting this guy in over a Thornbow Archer in my Suicide Black deck because Thornbow Archer has been glitched for like a year now, and I want to play Suicide Black.
Yeah. Okay. Well, my number 3 was actually also Grasping Scoundrel. I kind of had the same line of thinking as you. It's just a powerful 1-drop. So aggressive black decks like Suicide Black are gonna love an effect like this. And I don't know, is this card? It's probably not better than Thornbow Archers is, but
it's not better. It would only be better if you cared about like creature types.
Yeah, because this is a human, so
yeah. In all actuality, you probably play both in a lot of the versions. But I think I like the other one better because it has 2 toughness, so that's the biggest difference.
Well, that's true. Yeah, Thornbow is a 1/2, and this is a 2/1 when it's attacking.
Yeah, so. The other deck is the deck's creatures are. You don't want to be soft to like Trickery because that card's everywhere.
Yeah, and a lot of the disposable creatures out of some of the top decks also just trade with 1 toughness creatures, whereas a 2 toughness creature can get through them in a lot of cases. So cool. So that was our number 3 pick. Our number 2 pick, we had the same again, and that is Dusk Legion Zealot, another black card. This card, Dusk Legion Zealot, is a generic and a black for a vampire soldier. He's a 1/1, and he says when Dusk Legion Zealot enters the battlefield, draw a card and lose 1 life. So we already have Phyrexian Rager in the format, and this card is almost identical to that, just -1 mana and 1 point of power and toughness.
I had both Phyrexian Rager and Elvish Visionary written down. It is just a worse Elvish Visionary. And I think the Phyrexian Rager is good because it is a 2/2. Its body is a little bit better and it'll trade with things. This needs like a Bone Splitter on it or something to get it to do something good. You have to really be... The other cards in your deck have to be pretty good to want to draw into them this bad, to be playing a 1/1 and not just the Rager.
Yeah, I think the Rager is definitely better just because it's a 2/2. I think that it being a 2/2 is so relevant, like I would pay the extra mana for it every time. But I think that Dusk Legion Zealot is just one of those cards where if you need redundant effects, like you just need a lot of Phyrexian Ragers and Elvish Visionary type effects in your deck, then this card is great. It's just a redundant draw card.
Yeah, I feel like it could be cool in some kind of like dredgy list where you want to be a little bit more low to the ground, so you make the sacrifice of not having that body because you think you can get something better off this draw card and just do it quicker. But a lot of those lists are green. Green has both Elvish Visionary, and I think they just get a 1/3 that draws a card. It's like some kind of cat.
Oh, when it dies, you draw a card.
Oh, when it dies.
Yeah, it's a
Oh,
2-mana 1/3. When it dies, you draw a card, and I can't remember its name, but it's from Hour of Devastation.
Kitty cat.
Yeah, it's a little kitty cat. All right. Anything else you want to talk about with this card?
Not really.
Like there's not
it's
a
a pretty
lot
simple
with
one.
it.
I would love to play this card with some kind of cost reducing effect, like Red Familiar, and build some kind of like really strange Jund list. So it kind of gets my imagination going.
Where this guy is just cantrip.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Well, let's, I guess, move on to our number 1 pick. This list is going by really fast. So we actually both had the same number 1 pick as well. And we both have Moment of Craving at our number 1 slot.
Yeah. I'm excited about this card. I'll explain what it does real quick before I start going off on it. It's a 2-mana spell, 1 generic, 1 black, and it gives a target creature -2/-2 until end of turn, and you gain 2 life.
Instant speed.
Instant speed, and that's super important. We have some other effects like this in Pauper already. We have Echoing Decay, which it's more card advantage. So I would say play that in the main deck if you're playing an effect like this. But I think this is a better sideboard card. I'd bring it in against things like Fairies or Stompy, Red Deck Wins, anything that's just playing little guys and trying to beat you down. I think it works really great with, like, we were talking about Pestilence earlier. It would go great in a Pestilence deck. I have a mono black Pestilence list that this is going straight into the sideboard for. I was running Farika's Cure, which is just black, deal 2 damage to a creature, gain 2 life. So this is less mana intensive. Even though I'm a mono black deck, I still plan on running this because -2/-2 is better than 2 damage.
Yeah.
Where do you see this? I guess, do you plan on playing this in blue-black Teachings or Alchemy?
I mean, I've thought about it. My thing is just trying to figure out what I'd want it against. And I feel like the decks where it'd be really good against Echoing Decay is just equally as good, if not better. And the 2 life isn't very relevant. And the decks where, like, I feel like the 2 extra life is very relevant, I feel like some of those decks are a little more fringe. Like, I wouldn't want to bring this.
Right?
Does this kill a lot? I guess it kills Kiln Fiend.
It kills Kiln Fiend, and
I don't know. Is 2 life relevant against Izzet Blitz? Like,
I think when you're shutting them down with counterspells as well.
I guess. Yeah, I guess.
And you can give a creature -2/-2, and that actually prevents 4 damage if they have Team or Battle Rage. If they Battle Rage, you go up 2 life. You're saving yourself 4 damage. I think that's okay.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I just feel like if Izzet Blitz is going to kill you, they're going to kill you, and it doesn't really matter how high your life total is. Like, I don't know. Short of it being very high, like, I've got like 30 life, but I don't know. The difference between like 20 and 22, I don't know is relevant against that deck. But
yeah, and I appreciate the extra removal against like elves, but I guess
I would rather. We still have Disfigures and Echoing Decays and stuff.
Yeah, Disfigure gives get the biggest run for its money, I think. But if you're fine paying the 2,
yeah, I think that if, like, Red Deck Wins was more prominent, or like the Suicide Black decks, or if Burn just played more creatures than it does, then Moment of Craving would be really good. Because those are the decks where the 2 life really makes a difference.
Stompy as well.
Yeah, I could like this against Stompy. But I think you kind of hit it. This deck is great with like Pestilence.
Mhm.
You know, a deck that's taxing your own life total. Like Moment of Craving is probably just
Yeah,
fantastic
if
in that
you're,
deck, and I would honestly debate playing it in the main board.
I could
But
see it in a lot of what's it called? Thorn of the Black Rose brews, where they're just like, I'm gonna cast Cyan and Blood, and then I'm gonna follow that up with a Night's Whisper, and maybe you read the bones, and you're just like, you know, Phyrexian Rager and Kumbaj Witches. You're just taking a lot of damage in those decks, and eventually you're gonna grind them out, but you have to get there. And the 2 life helps there because black has plenty of like repeatable removal things in Pauper.
yeah, and that sort of thing. There are just so many options in the format, you know?
Just help you
Like we
get
could
to your
play Disfigure, we could play Echoing Decay. Like there's so many removal spells that we could play over this, but I think if you can find a matchup where the 2 life is very relevant, then this card is going to be A plus.
Mhm. And it's new and unique, and I think it's strictly better than the Freakish Cure and Soren's Thirst, which is
Yeah, that's
why
true.
I put it at number 1.
Yeah, those are cards that are already fine in the format that are sort of in the same. Well, actually, I think they have the exact same conversation that we just had about Moment of Craving, but Moment of Craving is castable in more decks than Mono Black.
I don't know if we've touched on this. I don't think we have. The reason I think this goes into a lot of black sideboards is black doesn't have very good sideboard cards. Like you play some land destruction, and then you upgrade. You target your kill spells more accurately. Like you swap out some kill spells, and it is between like which is the better one that you're going to want more often. And I think Moment of Craving is actually way up there.
Yeah, I agree with that. This is maybe a little off topic, but the 2 colors with the worst sideboard cards in the format, do you think that's blue and black? I feel like that's probably blue and black, maybe green.
Blue is not good on its own. Are we talking about by itself or just to have it
just,
as one of your 2 colors?
Just on its own. Because
Okay,
blue is kind of like the same argument as black. Like you're just switching around your counter spells. You know, you're like, I don't want my remove souls, so I'm going to bring in my negates and my dispels, or you know, I don't
blue and black
this.
are definitely the worst 2.
Okay.
Like black doesn't like blue at least has Hydroblast. That card is great.
Yeah, and I don't know that black actually has any just silver bullet sideboard cards. Does it? Because blue's got Hydroblast. It also has like a null. There are a few silver bullet, just very powerful narrow cards, but I just don't think black has anything like that either. Everything's just kind of mediocre.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. It's like Shrivel. Like that's one of the cards you're excited that you have.
Yeah, Shrivel and Nausea, I guess, is the same card.
You know, Crypt Incursion if you're feeling spicy. I don't like Crypt Incursions myself very much. It doesn't, yeah. And that's why I think this fits. You have land destruction, but I've heard the argument that land destruction isn't really good because like you bring it against Tron and then they Ghostly Flicker. But I don't think I agree with that because if you do it earlier, they're not going to have Ghostly Flicker up, and that's what your goal is if you're trying to blow them up like that.
Right. Well, if you're playing land destruction against Tron, you need to be a deck that's fast and takes advantage of the tempo hit. Like you can't just like on your turn 3 blow up one of their lands and go ha, and then not do anything for the rest of the game because then they're just gonna like play another land. Like okay, you killed one of my Tron lands. All right, I got 3 more. You know, you gotta have a lot of pressure on them and then blow up the land and just really take advantage of that stumble. But anyway, we're way off topic now.
Yeah, we're talking about black sideboards.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe this is too negative, but I'm really down on this set as a whole for a Pauper. I don't think
Yeah.
it's great. Like, even the best card, our number one card on both our lists, we're still just sort of like trying to figure out where it even goes. You know?
Well, I feel like I know where it goes, and you're just a little bit more iffy on it than I am.
I guess know where it goes is the wrong thing, because I know exactly where I would want this card. I just don't think that that's relevant a lot, or I don't know, not relevant.
It's not a big deal. Nothing
Right.
changes.
Yeah,
Pauper
I
doesn't
don't.
change as a format because of any of these cards. But we've always gotten all of our best cards from Masters sets and dual decks. Like just random and commander
Well, Masters. Sets. Oh yeah, because Masters sets and stuff, they downshift stuff.
Yeah.
And
They're
so
all,
we get powerful uncommons and some cases rares.
Yeah, and then we don't play any of the rares.
It's funny, they downshift all the rares and they're just garbage.
Scion of the Wild, I don't know, is like the closest.
I like that card.
It made what about it placed in the challenge, I think.
Emperor Crocodile. No. That was downshifted from rare, right?
Yeah, I think it was. It's terrible though. No one's ever played it. The other one is like Carrion Beetle or something. It's just whenever someone sacrifices a creature, it gets bigger. And no one plays that either.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like the last few sets if we've got anything that's like really made an impact, and I don't think that we have. Out of Amonkhet, we got Striped Riverwinder.
Yeah, that actually did. That's
sort of rejuvenated the Exhumed decks.
Yes.
The cat that we were talking about earlier, the 1/3 that when it dies draws a card.
Yeah, that's barely made ripples.
Yeah, like, barely done anything.
Some deck list. But what Kaladesh was great.
Yeah, Kaladesh gave us some fun stuff.
Did I miss a set? What was after Kaladesh?
Amonkhet, I think.
Yeah, and we got the the cat that you can bring it back for one as a.
Oh, the 1/1 lifelink Sacred Cat.
Yeah, Sacred Cat.
Yeah, that card's great.
And that was kind of one of the reasons I didn't put Martyr of Dusk on my list. Is it's one mana. It's 1 mana cheaper. It has lifelink when it first comes out. Like the 1 extra mana for the first body trading a point of damage for lifelink. Yeah, I just think it beats it out every time.
Well, and the other thing is Martyr of Dusk is a 2/1, and that extra point of power just feels wasted on a 1 toughness butt. Like, I just never feel great about having 2/1s or X1s of any kind in my deck, because they just trade with such low value creatures that the fact that this is a 2-powered body is just almost irrelevant.
You have to give it some kind of like first strike or something, or be able to protect it.
First strike. Yeah, I don't know. I think that, like, in the case of Martyr of Dusk, if this is in your deck, it's because you want redundant effects like this. You want as many Doom Traveler and Sacred Cat effects as you can possibly get, and that's why you're playing this card.
We got Sandworm, the green cycle for 2 Sandworm. You know what I'm talking about? It's like 9. Anyway, it's like Duskdale
Sandworm?
Something like that.
I actually don't even know. I don't know.
But it has menace, and it can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. And it's just this huge green creature. It made an appearance in Reanimate builds for, I think, just a little bit, but it's a cool addition to the format at the very least. So I think we're slowly getting cards, and we're getting more powerful and more diverse effects. But it's not like, I don't know. Obviously, this isn't a Masters set.
You're not talking about Duskdale Worm, are you?
Is it Duskdale?
It's just a 7/7 with trample.
Oh.
So it can't be blocked by creatures with 2 or less power? Is that what you said?
Yeah, it has cycling. Well, give me just 2 seconds.
Oh, it was a cycler. Was it from the new set? Or the Amonkhet set?
Yeah.
It was an Almond Cat?
This is great. Me Googling greater sandworm. It doesn't have menace. Greater sandworm can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. It's a 7/7 for 7 and has cycling for 2.
Oh, this card. Okay, I remember this card.
Yeah, I think it's good. I wanted to make a brew where I played 4 Exhume and then just, I don't know, cycling. Not cycling, Cascade, and get back Greater Sandworm.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I really like creatures with the can't be blocked by power 2 or less. I think there's one in this set that that says that, but maybe I'm just right here. Gilt Grove Stalker. It's a 1 and a green for a 2/1. Can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. I really like that effect in the format. There's so many 1/1s.
Yeah, and so 1/3s.
And this guy trades up with a lot of the creatures that can block it, like a Delver, a flipped Delver of Secrets.
Yeah, the reason we don't like 1 toughness creatures is because of combat, and it fixes its own problem.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think this card is actually okay. I don't know. I might put this on my list over the Martyr of Dusk.
I definitely would like that. I think that's better.
I don't know. I just feel like it'd be easier to find a deck for Martyr of Dusk. You know, if there's just some deck somewhere where you want a ton of redundant Doom Travelers. But I don't know. I can't really think of a great spot where Gilt Grove Stalker just fits in. But I think it's a more powerful effect.
I can't think of a list that would like have that as one of the cards that it's like, you know, I need this in here. Like the evasion would have to be important. Like maybe if you're playing Snake Umbra and you're trying to draw cards of Snake Umbra, it'll just trade up or draw cards.
Yeah, but I don't know. If you got Snake Umbra in your deck, you'll just put it on a ledge blocker.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking of this as ledge walkers, the extra ledge walkers.
Okay.
Like where you need to connect more often.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think the deck's out there, though.
I mean, I don't think this card's going to see play anywhere, but I don't know. I think it's a more powerful card than the Martyr of Dusk. I just think it's more likely that we would see Martyr of Dusk get played somewhere than this guy would. But I don't know.
I kind of just can't believe that we don't just have a 2/1 in white that makes a 1/1 already. Like that's got to be a thing.
I don't think it is.
Probably not.
I don't know. Probably there could be, and I'm just missing it. But I don't know. So yeah, again, just as a whole, I don't know that I'm super thrilled for all these cards, but I don't know. I could be proven wrong, and I don't know. I hope I'm proven wrong on some of these things.
I think it's better than what we got in the last Ixalan set. Like I don't think we got like anything there.
I can't think of anything.
Like we got Legion Conquistador, and we got that again in this one, but no one's gonna play that. It's cool to have more Squadron Hawk effects, but we didn't even play Squadron Hawk.
Yeah, it's just Legion Conquistador is just a worse Squadron Hawk. So if we wanted to do that, you play with Squadron Hawk. But yeah, so I don't know. I don't really have anything else I want to talk about with these cards.
Yeah, me neither. Did we go through our challenge breakdown?
Nope, that's next on the docket.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Cool. All right, well, let's jump into this. So this is the challenge from the 7th, right, of December? Yes. And this was an interesting one. There were some pretty interesting deck lists. So let's just start from the top, and I'll work our way down. So our first place deck is Mono Blue Delver. Our second place deck is Mono Green Elves. Our third place deck is Blue Black Exhume.
This is the one so far. This is the one I'm the most excited about because it's a little bit out there.
Me too. I like this deck a lot. Fourth place, we've got Is It Blitz. Fifth place, we have got Mono White Heroic.
That Seeker of the Way is, I feel like, making the hugest difference in making this deck playable.
Yeah, Seeker of the Way is just really good. Sixth place, we've got Familiars. Seventh place, we've got Affinity. And eighth place, we've got Mono Black.
Yeah, it's good to see a Mono Black deck back again. It is running the oubliettes. Those are necessary, but I think I just bought mine just a little bit ago, and they feel really weird. It feels like a bad kill spell, but it does its job. So
I think oubliette is great.
Yeah?
I don't know. I think it's a good spell. I don't know. I think it's unique in that black doesn't really have an effect like oubliette.
And it is
only
running
has oubliette. Like that does what it does. It just outright gets rid of anything. No drawbacks, no.
Well, it does have a drawback in that it could come back at some point if they remove your oubliette.
If they have enchantment removal, they can deal with the oubliette. But
if Grey Merchant of Asphodel didn't exist, you wouldn't play oubliette. That's why you played it. Yeah.
I guess.
The black symbols on a removal card are what makes you play it. I mean, the dead weight kind of feeds into that too. Dead weight isn't necessarily. I don't think it's better. There's one case where it's better, and that's ATOG than Disfigure. But you play it because it can be on the board with Grey Merchant. And I don't know, it is significant that it stays on the field, and like you can get past an Augur of Bolas or something, or kill a Tireless Tribe, which is becoming more and more relevant.
Yeah, I just like that this card isn't conditional. You know, it's not -2/-2. It's not kill target non-black creature. It's just an unconditional exile your Gurmag Angler, exile your Ulamog's Crusher. You know,
yeah, and you can take their Rancor if you get that lucky.
Yeah, and that's, I think, super relevant also, is that it takes away those cards. So.
And then it's running Thorn of the Black Rose and Pestilence, which is abnormal for, at least it's some newer additions to the deck. You didn't used to run either of these cards. One, because Thorn didn't exist. Like, Thorn came out after Chainer's Edict got kind of bad. Right?
Yeah. I think that sounds right, I
guess.
But I mean, this deck's playing Chainer's Edict, so.
Yeah, but not as like a 4-of. I don't know if they ever did it as a 4-of like every time.
No, I don't think this card is ever something you'd want to play as a 4-of, even when it's at its best.
Huh.
But
I love that card.
I think it's a great card, but I don't know. Edict effects are just very easy to get around, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just not something I would ever want 4-of in my deck, just because there's so many times where it's bad, and there are just as many times where it's bad to as many times where it's good, you know? It's never just like fine, which is what I want out of a removal spell. I want to just be able to
long enough, it will eventually be fine. Because all of the things that are like,
well, when you
getting around it is you're using a card to put 2 guys out almost every time.
Yeah.
And this card if you can get to 7 mana, eventually it'll 1-for-1. And it has the upside of 2-for-1ing. I just think that's fantastic. But
right, and that's what I'm saying. Is it's great, and then it's bad, and it's never just fine. It's never just okay. I need to kill this thing. Okay, it's dead. Move on with my life. It's like I've got this edict in my hand, and I've got to kill the Ulamog Crusher, but he has an Augur Bolus in play. You know,
yeah,
like it's just not an effect that I want a ton of. It's great when it's great. You know, when it's late game and they just drop their threat that they drew off the top of your deck, and you're just like, well, I have a Chainer's Edict in my graveyard, so joke's on you. You know, it's phenomenal. But then it's got those ends of the spectrum where it's just equally as bad. You know?
Yeah,
so it just doesn't feel like an effect I want a ton of. I don't know that I ever want 4. I want 2 to 3. It fills its role, and I want it there when I need it to be there to fill that role. But I also feel like I want more. I just want to take out variance, and this card is one that lends itself to variance.
Okay, sure. It's just the 2-for-1s, Brandon.
I know. Well, that's. I feel like we're like agreeing though. You're describing all these best case scenarios with it.
I know.
I'm saying, yeah.
I just always run 4. Like I frequently run 4 when I play decks, and I think if I were to play a mono black deck, I would run 4. Even though I know that, you know, like it's not really at its best right now. I think it is getting better as time has been going on, and so I'm just defending running 4. I just love them.
Okay. I do think that it is getting better than where it was a few months ago. So I don't know. I could just be very wrong. I could just be way off base, and this card's just good enough that you play 4 of. But I don't know.
Another list is the 6th place list.
Well, let's not skip 7th place.
Oh,
because that deck's so. Yeah, let's just work our way back up because this deck is so relevant. It's so great.
Yeah.
It's
just play a whole bunch of 4/4s, and then we get to run Gear Seeker Serpent now because we needed more cards with affinity.
Yeah, awesome. I didn't even see that was in the deck list. This card's cool.
So you're just playing these huge creatures, and then you ATOG fling people.
Yeah.
I don't care if Gorilla Shaman. Like there's not even that many Gorilla Shamans in this top 8 for sure.
No. Like, there's only 2 red decks, I think. No, I'm a liar. The other deck was. I don't think there's any Gorilla Shamans in this top.
There's 2 in the 4th place with this Scred Delver list. No, that's Is It Blitz? Is It Blitz?
Oh, Blitz? Is It Blitz? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Is It Blitz has a couple, but.
And then the Familiars was running some because they can do whatever they want.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I missed those. But...
And they're running them some themselves. So there are a few, but I feel like they're kind of, at least the Familiars feels a little bit strained. Oh wow, this is a more red version. That's weird.
Yeah, it's got Teamer Battle Rage, 4 Galvanic Blasts.
But the upside on this deck, like, I love Affinity. I think it's always going to be around. It's a staple, and until they get rid of. And we also got Metallic Rebuke. We didn't start playing that immediately, but the deck just keeps getting better. You just print a new. What's it called? Print new cards, print new artifacts. That's what I was looking for, artifacts. And this deck just slowly gets better and better. And we got Teamer Battle Rage, which who knew that was going to change how we have to play around Affinity. Like, it's one of those decks that just keeps getting cards that's already near the top of the totem pole, or bottom of the totem pole, depending on. It's good.
Yeah. And it's not the most exciting deck, you know, but I think it's important that we touch on it every time it pops up, because if if that's when Affinity thrives, is when people forget about it. Like when people just forget that I need to put Artifact Hate in my sideboard or I lose to Affinity. And then when someone decides that I'm probably not going to play Affinity this tournament, like I can skimp on my sideboard Hate. And then that's when Affinity crushes tournaments. So it's just the deck that is always going to be good, like you said, and it's always going to be getting better. So you always need to be cognizant of this deck.
Yep.
Like don't ever let your guard down when it comes to Affinity. So sixth place. This is the deck that you wanted to talk about. Familiars. This is actually one of my favorite decks. I've never played it, but I played against it a lot. Our friend Lanubi has it built in paper, so I play against him a ton with it. And I just think it's a hilarious deck.
I
think it's funny.
I feel like it's getting pretty close to like, maybe it's just 420 Dragon is so good at playing it because you don't see a whole lot of other people, but maybe it's just not that popular because it does take quite a bit of clicking or something. I'm not sure, but Ghostly Flicker has broken the format before, and this deck is like, well, Ghostly Flicker's still around, so let's break it. And it does. There's a lot of decks that just can't interact with it at all, and they just get owned. That kind of leaves a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth. Like if you're just playing an aggro deck and they just throw out all these walls to stop you. Like it has really good matchups like that.
But it also has some really bad ones, you know? And I think that's what makes this deck balanced. You know, it has a lot of free wins, which maybe you're right isn't good for the format. You know, because a deck that has non-interactive free wins against certain decks XYZ is never good for Magic. I think, you know, it doesn't create a fun environment, which people are concerned about, I guess. But I think this deck is balanced because for every free win it has some really difficult matchups.
Right. Yeah. I feel like it just fits under the umbrella of decks that break Ghostly Flicker, such as like Tron. And I don't know if I don't know if I've said this on this show before, but I think if we banned Ghostly Flicker, we could maybe unban Cloud of Fairies and
Peregrine Drake.
Maybe not Cloud of Fairies because Mono Blue and Scred Delver are already so great. But Peregrine Drake, maybe we could unban if we banned Ghostly Flicker.
I would say Peregrine Drake would be safe, but I don't know if I would say Cloud of Fairies is safe. Yeah. I think that card would still be just stupid good.
Yeah.
And I mean, Peregrine Drake would still be very good too, but it wouldn't be just busted like it was.
And it's weird I think it's so weird that Prosperous Pirates is the one that broke this. Like not broke it, is like, okay, now we can do this again. Since we can go infinite on mana.
How did we miss that when we were talking about what cards in the last sets impacted this? How did we miss Prosperous Pirates?
Because it's, nobody plays.
Because it wouldn't see play if Ghostly Flicker was banned.
But I just forgot about it, to be honest. Like,
yeah, so did I.
It goes in this one list, and it's very good. Like, I've gotten just, I'm trying to stop them, and they're just like, okay, I'm just gonna beat you down with a 3/4.
Yeah. Well, I've also seen this deck win out of nowhere too, where they have like almost nothing in play, and then they start playing a couple familiars. And
then they like snap and they untap their
they snap and you're just like, holy cow. And the familiars just when they have familiars in play and they cast snap, it feels like they're casting like it's a Seething Song. It's like a 2-mana Seething Song. And you're just like, what the heck? And then it's all of a sudden just like, okay, snap
it's
this.
a 1 mana.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's like better than Rite of Flame, and that card's banned in a lot of formats.
Not this one.
Yeah. So I mean, I've seen the deck do absolutely nutty things, but it's very easy to disrupt if you have the tools and know how to disrupt it.
I don't agree that it's super easy to disrupt. Like,
I don't know. Just
it's just constantly like, okay, I'm gonna
have a
play
removal
this, play
spell, have a
this.
counter spell.
They can. I have played against this deck where I remove 3 familiars, and I guess this one isn't running.
I don't know. Do you kill the familiars though? Like, don't you just save your interaction for their relevant cards?
What else is relevant?
The cards they're killing you with, the Mnemonic Wall, the Prosperous Pirates, the Mole Drifters. Like you're trying to just interact with their ghostly flickers, right?
So by the time Mnemonic Wall a lot of the time hits the battlefield, it's a little bit late. This one is, it's notable that it's not playing Gravestorm or whatever it's called. Because you could just kill all their stuff, and they're just like, all right, I'm gonna try to go off again, return all these stuff to my hand. And you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and return my Grave Purge or my Gravestorm to my hand. And so like you have to you can't just stop them and then slowly kill them. You have to be able to win too. And they're going to still have like God Pharaoh's Faithful and things out because you can't kill all of them. So they slow you down a lot.
Yeah. And that's the same issue with every combo deck. You can't just interact with them. You've got to try to proactively kill them as well.
I'm just remembering I was playing Red Deck Wins, and I played against this deck, and that was just miserable. Like,
yeah, their 1-drops do work against your 1-drops.
Yeah, and like I was trying to go around.
That just gains you 2 or 3 life a turn.
Yeah, and like, what do you point your removal spell at? Like, are you like, okay, well, if I don't kill this familiar now, he's going to be able to cast, 2 spells instead of just 1. So he's going to be able to play his Mole Drifter and I don't know, like a Seagate Oracle. So you have to get those off the field, and then they land one of those anyway, and you're like, okay, now I have to kill this. It's just a headache.
Yeah, and well, I think that's why you need to figure out what the priorities are. Like you can't kill everything. Like they have so many familiars and so many redundant creatures, you can't kill all of them. So I think you've just got to save your removal, save your interaction for the things that matter. And again, I think though that like this deck just has very good matchup against these little go wide aggressive decks because their creatures just match up very well in terms of blocking, and they just get a ton of value. So
I guess that's why we don't see any of those decks, is because they do. The meta's adjusted so that you're not just playing super fast decks. Like the super fast decks are Affinity.
Yeah, and Stompy.
Like, well, the thing is, I don't think we're seeing like Stompy's going away more and more. I'm just seeing less and less of it, and I think the reason is more decks like this and just more. We've adapted. I think New World Order here is just you have to interact. You have to have a really good plan, and you can't just hope that they're not going to put a whole bunch of big toughness creatures in front of you because everybody does.
Sure. Yeah. All right. Well, should we move on? Keep trucking along. Our 5th place deck. I don't know why I keep saying desk. Our 5th place deck is White Heroic. So this is sort of a fun one. And this is one that I've wanted to try to make work, but I don't know. It just doesn't seem good. Or at least I was never able to like make it good. But I mean, this deck list looks probably as good as it can get.
Yeah, we got some great tools.
Yeah, I think that like the cartouche helped it a bit.
Secret of the Way, of course.
Yeah, Secret of the Way was a huge a huge boon as well. But now between Hyena Umbra and Cartouche of Solidarity, that just gives this deck a ton of protection against.
Well,
actually, Hyena Umbra doesn't work against Edict effects like I thought it does, right? No, it doesn't.
No, it
doesn't do anything. Yeah.
So, you're missing Emergent Scathed. That card.
Oh yeah, that card.
We just got the best protection spell. Maybe barring Phyrexian, whatever, the pay colorless, is it
Apostle's Blessing?
Yeah, thank you. This is better than Apostle's Blessing. If you have white in your deck, this is better. It's 2 casts, because Rebound counts as another cast.
Right.
So Prowess is going to trigger. You can protect your guy, and then give him protection again the next turn to have him actually
probably kill them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it makes it super awkward because one of the ways you play around this deck is not fighting. Like, it's the same with any of these decks. Is it Blitz, this heroic deck, Infect in other formats? You don't interact with their creatures in combat because you don't want to give them the benefit of lightning bolt your guy. Okay, I'll respond. I'll target it, with my Defiant Strike, and it'll get a counter, and then my Defiant Strike and your lightning bolt doesn't kill it.
Mm-hmm.
And Emergent Scathe kind of nullifies that strategy because you're going to go, okay, I'm just going to deal with this now in my main phase, so that he can't mutagenic growth it or whatever and save it, and I'm going to take more damage. So I'm going to do it now. And you do that, and then they emerge unscathed, and then they have the effect again in their next turn. And so now it's like you fought with them in combat before they even had their combat.
Yeah, and Heroic is already that, like...
Well, the Heroic is permanent, so...
Yeah, so it's already, like, every time you try to remove my creature is the wrong time.
Right.
Like, they're getting just better and better protection. And so I think Heroic is actually a strategy to keep your eye on. Like, that, it might grow. Because it's getting more tools, and it's an easy archetype for a card to fit into. Like, a good enough pump spell, a better protection spell, new enchantments... Like, it feels weird that we're playing Cho Mano's Blessing, but it fits its role, and I think we could find some better targets for some of, like, we could get better, like, heroic kind of creatures. They're playing Deft Blade Elite, which has Provoke.
Yeah.
To try to get their creatures in. It feels weird. So maybe we could get some more 1-drops and 2-drops or something that they want to target.
Yeah. Another card, actually, that I think might be fine in this deck. It was one of the cards that I was debating putting on my top 5 list. Let me find it really quick. It's Squire's Devotion. It's 2 generic and a white for an enchantment that says enchanted creature gets +1/+1 in lifelink, and when it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 white vampire with lifelink. I don't know.
It's 3 mana and it's total 2 power. I think it's pretty weak.
Yeah, but when it's triggering your heroic too, that's 2 power, right? I don't know. I think it's fine sideboard card. Like against decks that you're racing.
I'm just having a hard time getting behind that.
Okay. Well, I think it's good.
Like, I think that if you played like is it like heroic something? Anyway, it's like 1 generic, 1 white, creature gets +2/+2 and lifelink. I would take the 1 time with the extra pump on the creature and 1 less mana. Like, the permanency of this isn't significant enough for the 1 mana for me.
So 3 mana is just out of the question, you think?
Yeah, it's right out.
Right out. All right. Well, that was 5th place. 4th place, we kind of touched on earlier when we were talking about the sideboard, but this is It Blitz?
Mm-hmm.
And so this is sort of similar to the 5th place deck, like similar strategy of just all in on one creature and kill you.
Yeah, the other one is like, it's a gradual build, and this one's just all at once.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know, nothing too out of the ordinary with this deck, I don't think. Like, it looks just pretty stock to me. I'm not really seeing anything.
Yeah, it's just
Flaring Pain. Is Flaring Pain a card that's usually in sideboard?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I just missed it. I mean, it's great against the Tron decks, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we don't see it very much anymore, but Prismatic Strands for like mono white lists. Just prevent all damage of a certain color, and you just say red, and it shuts It Blitz down pretty well. But Flaring Pain is super cheap, and it'll just win you games. It's 2 casts. You can cast it twice since it has flashback.
Right, which is great against the so the fogs in Tron have flashback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so yeah, you can do it, like you can repeatedly do it, but you can also just be like, all you have is a Kiln Fiend, and you top deck a Flaring Pain, you cast that twice, now your Kiln Fiend has 7 power.
Yeah, that's relevant too. It's a spell that you can cast twice in one turn.
Very cheaply.
Whether you need to or not. So that's good. So even when it should be dead, if your opponent just doesn't have a fog in their hand at the time, or they're tapped out or something, and you know that you're in the clear and you draw this, it's 2 spells for 1.
Yeah. Like even what's it called? Boggles. Boggles runs Flaring Pain, even though the only access they have to red is enchanting one of their lands. They just run it because fogs are a bigger deal in Pauper.
Yeah. Moment's Blessing, that's what the card's called, right?
What? Moment's Peace?
A Moment's Peace. Yeah, Moment's Peace. I was trying to remember what the fog was. But yeah, Moment's Peace.
Yeah, and they, the blue-red decks get to play Hydroblast, Pyroblast. So that's always nice. Nivix Cyclops ironically dies to both Hydroblast and Pyroblast.
Yeah. Okay. So let's say 3rd place deck. This one I'm very excited to talk about. I'm just going to call it Blue-Black Exhume. Blue-Black Reanimator. But
it continually surprises me that Rush of Vitality has found a home. If you don't know what Rush of Vitality is, it's 1 generic and 1 black. Target creature gets +1/+0 and gains lifelink and indestructible until end of turn. Like, I never would have pegged that card as good enough to fit in a deck, but it's so good on Striped Riverwinder. Like, Riverwinder forces them to deal with it in combat, and they usually are like, okay, this is gonna hurt, but if I put like 3 of my creatures over here, 2 of them will live because I have 6 toughness because they're bears or something. I have 6 toughness. It pushes it up a little bit bigger so it'll kill it. It doesn't trade anymore. It just kills them. And the lifelink, like, would you have pegged Rush of Vitality as like good enough for Constructed Pauper?
It's not a card that looking at I would have ever thought about. Like, you look at this and you just say, okay, that's a combat trick designed for limited. But in the right context, it's quite powerful. And like you said, when you throw it onto a Striped Riverwinder, it's great. And even, you also have other big creatures that can take advantage of it as well. It's just an angle that your opponents aren't ever going to think about. Like, how often are you thinking about combat tricks when you're playing against a deck with cards like Delver of Secrets in it or Gurmag Angler? Like, if I'm playing against,
thanks to this, I am now.
Yeah, then that's sort of the thing.
That's kind of what I would point out to everybody listening is like, do not get blown out by Rush of Vitality if you can't help it. Like, oof.
Yeah. And it's one of those things too that it's just like it's not showing up in every deck list, but it's there and you need to be cognizant of it. But at the same time, like playing around Rush of Vitality when they don't even have it,
yeah,
you just got to be really careful.
Most of the time, it's like
you need to understand
the
when
question
you
is:
can
do I
afford
block
to
this
and when
turn,
you can't.
or do I wait until the next turn and have mana up to fend off these pump spells? And them even running it just makes you hold off for a turn. And so,
yeah. Well, and even like you said, if they've got Striped Riverwinder in play, like that's not a thing you can do. Like you can't hold up mana to try to interact with Rush of Vitality. So
you can if you're blue, if you can get rid of the spell.
I guess okay, you could counter the rush, but
yeah. But that's what you'd have to do.
Anyway, but yeah, this is a tricky one because in the context of this deck, I feel like it's good quite often. And combat tricks just aren't a thing you're thinking about in this format. Like even playing against decks like Is It Blitz or like Tireless Tribe, those sort of all-in strategies, they're not decks that are trying to interact with you in combat. They're just trying to kill you with their combat step. So you're not really thinking about a combat trick.
They work very hard not to interact with you in combat.
Right. And so combat tricks are just something that are just not on my radar when I'm playing in a league. And it should be, because here it is. And this card, like you said, when this card gets you, like it's going to be a huge blowout. Like you're going to lose games to this card.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I really like this deck.
It gets to run Brainstorm.
I like Brainstorm.
It's kind of curious. I'm usually a fan of the what's it called? Preordain, but it's already enough Ash Barons, I think, to make it work.
Yeah, but it's also got 4 Thought Scours, 3 Mental Note.
Oh, right. Yeah, I kind of forgot about that.
It doesn't really need the Preordain effect. So between that and the 3 Ash Barons, it has 10 ways to get rid of the cards you brainstorm with. So
yeah,
this
great.
might be one of the decks that utilizes Brainstorm the best in this format.
Yeah, I'd say so. There was another list that was running it.
I think
there's been a few.
Yeah, there are a few decks that play Brainstorm, but this one really takes advantage of it. It just has so many ways to clear to the top of your library. Another interesting thing here is the Nihil Spellbomb in the main deck. Like, does that need to be there?
Yes.
Yeah?
I 100% think it does.
In the main deck? You don't just want to have a couple in the sideboard?
Well, Exhume is symmetrical, and
oh, duh. Okay.
That's what it's for.
That makes a lot of sense. You're right.
You're almost always getting a card off of it, and it's just 2 mana, and it's spread out, so
yeah, you don't want to
viable.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. I overlooked that synergy. So okay, Nihil Spellbomb's great. Play it in your Exhume decks. Cool. So second place. Should we move on?
Yeah.
More to.
No, I was gonna say number 2.
Yeah, number 2, Elves, and this list is unique because it's just mono green. There's no island for the
Distant Melody.
Distant Melody, which
it makes it more aggressive.
They don't have the
Wirewood Pride?
No, the elf that fetches basic lands.
Oh yeah, you only play that if you're winning the island.
Right, and that's sort of the what I was trying to point out was they took the island out of their deck, and they made their mana base a little more consistent. But they also got to take that other card out of their deck. What is it called? Birchlore Ranger? No. Oh. What am I talking? Birchlore Rangers is the good one. What is that card called?
It just goes and finds a basic?
Yeah, what's that called?
Sylvan Ranger.
Yeah, Sylvan Ranger. So like Sylvan Ranger isn't that great on its own, but it's necessary because of how bad that mana is to make Distant Melody work. And so going mono green and just maxing out on Lead the Stampedes, taking the island out of your deck and taking the 4 Sylvan Rangers out of your deck, I think like
so you don't win with combo wins anymore.
No.
You win with like, I just have a lot of 1/1s. 2 will die, but I'm attacking you with 9.
Yeah, so the ceiling on your deck is a lot lower. Like you don't it's not as over the top and powerful as the decks that have Distant Melody, but I think this makes it more consistently powerful. Not as powerful, but it's more consistently powerful.
Yeah,
because it's just always kind of doing its thing.
They're running, this deck at least is running 9 Land of War Elves effects instead of like the traditional 6-ish. And it gets to run like Essence Warden, so it's playing 1-drops way more. And I'm kind of surprised that it's not running Wirewood Pride, where it's one mana instant +X for each elf you control. Because it feels like a list that's just trying to beat you down more. And this is one of the lists that I would definitely want to see. What's the card? Moment of Craving, the new card. You can target one of these elves and kill it to slow them down a whole bunch. And I am concerned about my life total. Maybe it's not as good as Echoing Decay, but Echoing Decay, I don't think really gets extra value. It might get a couple of Nettle Sentinels, best case.
Yeah, I think Echoing Decay's best use against this deck is against elf tokens from the Huntmaster. I mean, sometimes you can snipe 2 or 3 other creatures with it, but I think that's what Echoing Decay does its best work at. It's cleaning up all the extra elf tokens that the Huntmaster makes.
One thing I did notice that's making me eat my words from earlier. So you can see in the sideboard it has Mob Justice, which is a sorcery. Yeah. Mob Justice deals 1 damage to target player for each creature you control, which is 1 mana less than the one we just got, the Gruesome Fate. But the Gruesome Fate is at least black, so that's a new effect.
Yeah, it provides the same effect to other decks that don't have the ability to generate any color of mana.
This is a weird sideboard. It has 2 Penumbra Spider in it. The 2/4 with reach. And when it dies, you get a 2/4 with reach.
Yeah, I like that. That's funny.
As well as 3 Spider Silk Armors. It just seems like he's a little bit paranoid of things flying over and beating him down.
So I'm almost just scared to even ask this question.
Do it.
Because I'm sure that as soon as you answer it, I'll feel like a moron. How is this deck making non-green mana?
Birchlore Rangers?
Gosh, I always forget. that card can make any color of mana. Every time. Well, so my problem is whenever I look at the card, I'm just like skimming over it, and I see the morph symbol in the bottom.
Oh.
And I just like, okay, make green. I just see that and I go, okay. But yeah, Birchlore Rangers.
Yeah, it's a really narrow way to get to all these other colored spells, but
yeah,
I guess they're only running the 1 Mob Justice as the
it's their only off-colored spell. So, and it's a super powerful effect. So.
They're running Magnify, which is just 1 green. All creatures get +1/+1 until end of turn. That's symmetrical. I didn't know this card even existed.
I've never seen it before now either.
It's cool, though. All right, are you ready to move on?
Yeah, let's move on. First place, I don't even know that there's a lot for us to talk about at this point that hasn't already been said, but Mono Blue Delver.
Yeah,
It's still at the top.
it keeps getting that number one spot. The one thing I do think is notable is it has Aura Flux in the sideboard.
Oh yeah, I like this card.
Some people run those, some people don't. I think they're sweet.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I don't know. It's just one of those effects that it's one of those silver bullet effects. It's very narrow, but in the places where it's good, it's just backbreakingly good. And
Okay.
blue doesn't have a lot of those effects outside of like their other forms of counter magic, Hydroblast and Annul.
Mhm.
So I like Auraflux. I would play it in my sideboard.
So I don't have much more to say about that deck, but will you indulge me and look at the number 9 deck with me?
Yeah, let's look at number 9.
So this is I think the most unique deck that I've seen, at least in this challenge. Uh, it's it's got 4 creatures in it, and they're all Heliod's Pilgrim, which is a 3-drop that goes and gets you any. Is it an aura card? Yeah, any aura card from your deck and puts it into your hand. It runs like Krufix's Insight, where you look at the top 6 cards of your deck, and you put up to 3 enchantments in your hand, and then it has 31 enchantments in it. So far as I can see, our win cons are Pestilence and Curse of the Bloody Tome. And the rest of it is basically enchant stuff to like make more mana out of your lands, like fix your mana, make creatures not able to attack or block, Journey to Nowhere, Oblivion Ring.
It's kind of a prison deck.
Yeah,
it doesn't
definitely.
tax mana, and it doesn't tax yeah, I don't know what else I was going to say,
Well,
but it doesn't like put a tax on your mana like other prison decks do, but it locks the game up.
It has a
You've
lot of
got
ways of gaining life, and then it plays this enchantment, Protective Sphere.
Sphere. Yeah, that's the one I was just about to bring up.
Yeah, the 3 mana enchantment, 2 and a white, 1 generic mana, pay 1 life, prevent all damage that would be dealt to you this turn by a source of your choice that shares a color with the mana spent on this activation cost. So that's why they're running all of these mana fixers, and they just keep gaining life. They have enchantments that are like every turn you gain 2 life, or what is it? Quiet Disrepair is enchant artifact or enchantment. So I heard you like enchantment, so I put an enchantment on your enchantment, and it has at the beginning of your upkeep, destroy destroy enchanted permanent, or gain 2 life. So you're just trying to make it so that you can Protective Sphere them away long enough to Pestilence or Curse of the Bloody Tome and just stall, make a bunch of mana. I think it's sweet. I never would have had the cojones to bring this into a challenge, but this is so sweet.
I think this deck is way cool. I like Quiet Disrepair quite a bit too, just because, like, obviously it's first. I think the what you're probably doing it with it the most in this deck is putting it on one of your own enchantments and just gaining a ton of life every turn. But then every once in a while, you just play against decks like Affinity or decks that have their own enchantments, and you just have this awesome main deck Silver Bullet that you can go tutor up with your Heliod's Pilgrims.
Yeah, like there's enough prophetic prisms around that you're probably going to have a target a lot of the time, and then maybe I have enough life, and I don't want you to have so many colored mana, and I'll just blow up your thing. Haha! Like, this deck, it makes me so excited.
I really like Trace of Abundance. I love that like it gives your land Shroud so that your mono red opponents can't, like, okay, they're trying to make a bunch of mana by putting enchantments on a land, so I'm going to bring in my Stone Rains, and then they have Trace of Abundance, so you can't do that anyway. I just like whenever someone can stick it to the red deck. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a cool card. It's just extra fertile grounds, kind of. I guess they're only running 3. Huh.
Well, they've got 3 fertile grounds, 4 abundant growths, and then 1 trace abundance for sort of their mana fixing. Abundant growth doesn't really ramp, but
it fixes.
Yeah, it's one of the other fixers.
It's about all I have to say about this deck. There's not anything really notable in the sideboard. It's just another Curse of the Bloody Tome. 4
I
Aranara.
like the Aranara lids, yeah. I like that like you don't want your removal against this deck. And so you're gonna board a lot of your removal out, and if not all of it, if you can.
Yeah.
And then they bring in the Aranara lids, and like I just feel like that's gonna catch a ton of people off guard. Like they're just not gonna I mean, for one, people aren't gonna know how to play around this deck anyway when they're seeing it for the first time. They're just going to go, okay, they didn't have any creatures, so I'm going to board out all of my removal that I possibly can. And then they have Aranara lids, and that's just going to kill you so fast. And it's one of those other creatures that has that niche clause we were talking about, that evasion. Creatures with power less than it can't block it.
Which is
and in
pretty
this
soon,
deck,
that's every creature can't block it.
In this deck, that's going to be all your opponent's creatures. Like, no one's going to have anything bigger than your Aranara lid.
Yeah, and
like
their enchantments play into it as well.
Or like an 8/8 probably all the time.
Unless it's like very, very early, like turn 3 or something. But then by the time it's attacking...
Scale, yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, think about it like this. You go turn 1, make an abundant growth. Turn 2, you make another enchantment. Turn 3, you make this guy. He's already a 4/4 on turn 3. And then turn 5, you're probably going to make 2 more enchantments. So you're attacking with this on turn 4. You untap with this guy who's already a 4/4, and you play 2 more enchantments. And this guy's a 6/6 attacking on turn 4 against your opponent who just boarded out all their removal spells. All they can do is take a hit from it and then hope to build up a huge board and chump block it. But then, I don't know.
They are running 2 relics in the board, which I usually pack 2 relics, but I've heard that they're not as good right now. And if I'm looking over the top, at least the top 8, Familiars, I believe, is the only thing that's interacting with their yard. Nope, there is that Reanimator list. So I guess that's enough to pack 2 of those.
I feel like it's fine having a couple relics. I don't know.
I agree.
If you've got extra flex slots, but yeah, you're kind of right though. It's not super relevant. I think the fact that Familiars is getting so popular makes me want to play relics. But
yeah, I mean, is it getting that popular? I guess I'm seeing it more. I think Tron is the bigger deck that I'm trying to hate out. There's a lot of decks that it actually hits pretty hard.
Yeah.
And this deck doesn't interact with its own graveyard, so it's not like a minus.
Right. All right. Well,
yeah.
I think we've talked a lot. So what do you say we wrap this show up?
That sounds good to me.
All right. Well, let's move into our last segment then. What are we playing? So, Sean?
Am I going to start again?
Yeah, you start. What have you been playing?
So I've been playing Mono Blue Acid Trip. Well, I've been playing a lot of decks, but I'm gonna go with Mono Blue Acid Trip is the one I want to point out. I'm halfway through a league right now. I don't think I want to spoil it how I'm doing, but I'm 3 games in, and it's kind of been a roller coaster. If you're not familiar with what the deck does, it plays Reality Acid, which is a 3-mana enchantment that can enchant any permanent, and when it leaves the battlefield, I'll secretly tell you my record. When it leaves the battlefield, the enchanted permanent is sacrificed by its controller. So it can hit land, and then you play like Dreamstalker to bounce it over and over. So you can lock them out on land if they stumble on that. But if they get land flooded, a lot of the time you're pointing it at creatures. And so it's really versatile. It's a mono blue deck that can kill 5/5s. And that's pretty exciting to me. You're forced to play like serrated arrows, but you get to run like excludes and counter spells, as well as accumulated knowledge. I think it's a really cool deck. So I'll be posting that video hopefully in the next couple days. So check that out.
Cool. And I watched you stream with this a couple weeks ago, a week ago.
A couple
weeks ago, maybe. I don't remember either. But it was hilarious to watch. It's a funny deck. So let's see.
Oh, I gotta say one thing about the deck. There is one point where I boarded in Echoing Truths, and I put in a Reality Acid on somebody's land, and then I had 2 more Reality Acid in hand. So I chant another one, enchant their creature, and then Echoing Truth to blow up both of their lands and a creature. That felt good. That was sweet.
Yeah, that just feels like, I don't know, the greatest thing you could ever do for 2 mana. Kill 2 lands and 1 creature.
In blue, because that's what blue needs to be doing.
Well, what other? Any color.
I know, but
like any color, you kill 2 lands and a creature with 1
that's
spell.
That's not a part of
ridiculous.
The blue color pie. Like blowing
that's
up
not a
lands
part of any
and
color
creatures.
Pie. That's busted.
Blowing up lands and creatures. Yeah, but like none of them get that for 2
and
mana.
1 creature at the same time for 2 mana.
Yeah, I
guess I'm being a little.
I ended up spending 11 mana on this.
Right. Yeah, I'm being a little hyperbolic on this because it took you 2 turns of setup and 11 mana and 3 other spells that needed to not die.
Yeah.
Or be countered or something, but still, Magical Christmas Land is fun.
Lived it.
All right, so for me, what I'm playing, if I were to play in a challenge or anything like that, I would be playing Blue Red Delver. I think that's one of the best decks in the format. I think it has the biggest edge over most decks in the format.
You still on that over Mono Blue?
I am. I think that Mono Blue is more powerful in the mirror and is probably favored in the mirror, but I still think that Blue Red is better in the meta. I think it has better sideboard cards. I think it has a better main deck strategy against a lot of other decks, a better interaction, obviously, and I would rather play that in the open meta of Pauper than I would Mono Blue. I think both decks are great, but I think that Mono Red has a slight edge in the meta. Yeah. What did I say? Mono Blue?
Mono Red.
The spread. I said Mono Red?
You said Mono Red, but that's fine.
Wow. I'm way off base. I think that the Blue-Red Scred Delver decks have a slight edge against the meta than the Mono Blue decks do, but I still think that in the mirror match, Mono Blue versus Blue Red, Mono Blue is the favorite. And let's see what I've been playing outside of competitiveness when I'm just trying to have fun. I've been working on a Red Green Madness brew just because Basking Root Walla is a really cool card.
Yeah.
And I haven't really gotten very far with it, but
and those colors you don't get to play Tortured Existence, which I think it's good not to rely so much on your yard. It just feels miserable playing Tortured Existence when they have a relic or 2 out. I think it's just too easy to hate out, and just playing like a little bit card advantage-y red-green deck. That sounds cool.
Yeah.
Have you looked at there's a 3/1 from Conspiracy that it's 2, so generic and a green, so 2 mana for a 3/1. Okay. When it enters, each player can discard a card to look for a basic land card and put it in their hand.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I didn't even know about that card. I'm gonna have to figure out what the card's name is, though. So Well, yeah, that sounds cool. That definitely sounds looking into. But yeah, this deck is just
Borderland Explorer.
Borderland Explorer. Okay.
When it enters the battlefield, each player must discard a card. Each player who discarded a card this way may search for basic land. Yep.
That seems great.
Yeah.
And it's a 3-powered body for 2 mana.
Yeah. Put 4 power on the board and then be able to pump your Rootwalla.
I like it. I like it a lot. But yeah, it's sort of just the basic. I've got 4 Basking Rootwallas to start with. The Arrogant Worm. And then a couple copies of the 4/1, the 3-mana 4/1 from the Innistrad set.
Yeah, I like not going full on with those.
Yeah, I don't like having a ton of him either. It kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier. I just really don't like a creature with 1 toughness, even if I am getting him for a discounted rate. Like playing a 4/1 in this format still just kind of doesn't feel like having a big creature. It's so easy to kill. And it's just trading for such minimal value. But I don't know. I don't think there are enough Madness payoffs that I want to not have it. So
have you gotten your copies of Pyroblast yet?
I still don't own Pyroblast online.
Yeah,
this is a deck I'm building in paper anyway. So
okay, that's good.
I have actually most of my decks in paper. The only decks I have online are I have Blue-Red Delver and Blue-Black Teachings.
So I'm actually looking at a list I have that I've screwed around with this, and I have Hooting Mandrills, and of course Wild Mongrel, Lightning Axe. I love me a Lightning Axe.
Yeah, Lightning Axe. So yeah, Lightning Axe, Wild Mongrel, and Faithless Looting were sort of my engine cards.
Do you want to play Insolent Neonate?
Yeah. Oh yeah, Insolent Neonate. Jeez. Yeah, that card too, because he's great.
Yeah, I think there are enough cards to get this deck to really do something.
I think so. Yeah, and Basking Rootwall is just a fun card. So,
and if you're running Mandrills, you can run like the Terramorphic Expanse Ash Barrens package.
Yep. So anyway, that's kind of what I've been brewing with and experimenting around with. I haven't had a chance to actually ever play a deck yet, but I'm sort of just working on it.
Yeah, so that's sweet. Tell me how you like those Blood Mad Vampires. Do your homework and come back.
Yeah, I'll let you know. I'm not high on them right now, but I could be proven wrong. So anyway, that's the show. Thank you guys for listening along with us. Thank you again to Sean Lobbert on YouTube. Check him out. It was really great of him to help me out the last couple weeks while Raphael's been sort of dealing with life.
Yeah, I love doing this.
Yeah, we love having you. So outside of YouTube, is there anywhere the listeners can find you?
I used to do Twitch, but I moved and my internet's not so great. And I like the freedom of, I'm going to play around in this tournament, and then I'll just edit it together with the other ones. So it's just been, like, I don't even have a Twitter or anything. So if you need to get a hold of me, just say something in YouTube.
Cool. So yeah, find him on YouTube. What is it? Lobbert YouTube? Is that just what it is?
Just type in like Lobbert Popper.
Okay. Yeah, then you'll find him.
I did usually what comes up first is my mud deck my mud popper deck that I played. I need to do another one of that since we got Guardian Idol.
Cool. Well, and you can always follow the podcast on Twitter at CK Podcast. I'm on Twitter as well. You can follow me at bclark_CK. And you can follow Raphael at Raphael CK Podcast. So anyway, that's the show. Thank you so much for listening along, and have a great week. Bye.
Bye.